Good afternoon. This is FIDE Senior Trainer, International Master Chess Coach Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State Chess Session to this intermediate training session. So I will be covering some thematic endgames and some middle game puzzle, followed by some good themes in classic games. Alright. So the position here, the move e5 is not good because after the knight tempo, one more tempo is getting. Now there is a threat, pawn into pawn and knight. This does not yield any support, take and winning a pawn. So instead of playing this, black plays a different way. So he does not play e5 and plays here. This is also white better. Now knight has to move. Other moves are not good. Knight h5 is very poorly placed. Now I want you to find out how should white play here. You have to find good opening moves. What should white do now? What should white do? We have to imaginative and find good moves at every stage of the game. Can somebody tell me what should white do now? Hello Tanishq, what should white do now? The point is a typical pawn sacrifice. This theme has occurred in arcane defense, in some variation of Caro-Kann, mean h4 line. Now the point is, now pawn into pawn is bad, very bad. After the move, pawn takes pawn, h3 with a clear advantage. So place bishop takes pawn. Now the point of pawn sacrifice, white wants to give a serious damage to the black king position. The bishop has no move. Knight c5 is bad after pawn b4. Now black's king side development is very slow and the pawn structure is bad. White has space. Now you can play knight coming, attacking. The pawn has to move. He cannot support. The idea, now bishop will go to h3 and castle with a big advantage. So the whole point is that this sort of moves, this is really bad. I can show you 2-3 more examples. For example here. h6, g4, and this is bad move because of this. Now pawn into pawn, bishop d3, white is clearly better. You want to take and then queen enter to d3. Bad position. It can come in many other lines also. Okay, so here the point is this kind of pawn sacrifice, you have to be very careful. Okay, next. Look here, this example I will give you. Karpo Sangla. Now, this is okay. This is not a bad move. Now the correct move for white, every move should be directed in the opening to castle quickly. You need to support. So e3, not c3. Here white played c3, which is bad. Queen b3, bishop attacked. Now check. Suddenly he is in trouble because on knight c3 simply loses a pawn. Knight c3 loses a pawn, bishop c3, queen into queen and knight into, winning a pawn. So nd2. This loses a piece. Unexpected g5. Unexpected g5, and now this otherwise you move g4, one piece is lost. The d2 knight. So, but the whole line, it is, you should not play c3. You should play here e3. I mean, next plan, suppose you play queen b6. Sorry, now e3. No. E3. Now you play queen b. It is not effective. White should play knight d2. Welcome to take the pawn. I want to castle quickly. This is very strong. The position, one cannot afford to make 3 moves and put the queen badly placed. The queen has come, again queen going back. Okay, for example, let us say we'll see a game of Boris Spassky. Okay. Castle. White has now a tremendous lead in development. 1. White has better center. 2. White has better mobility of pieces. Just for one pawn. So one should not go for such pawn hunting at the cost of development, at the cost of center. Bad king situation. Now, okay, I cannot show mate, but just put pressure. Now move the queen. White is having definite a big advantage. 5 active pieces. Rather 6 active pieces. This is even worse. Same piece moving and pushing. You exchange, my knight will come. You can't take c3 pawn. You cannot take, it's a blunder. Now, still you cannot take c3 pawn. On queen into c3, knight into pawn is coming. This is bad because of knight into pawn. Neither pawn capture nor bishop capture. He lose the queen. So you cannot capture. Now the whole point is there is a tremendous lead in development. Now rook c1 is threatened. I think position will collapse now. So it is a basic fundamental thing. Tanish sir, today you will be playing game. Yes, I will play on leeches. You see, the admin has to keep the link. Unless there is a link on YouTube, I cannot play. So admin has to keep the link. I think today I will be there. No, we will do tactics, but it is very important to understand strategy also. Strategy on priority. Next is tactics. Now already black is outplayed. The position is terrible. Simple moves. I bring rook. You cannot play rook c8. Rook c8 is bad. I will take and give bishop check. Rook coming. So, overwhelming position. This position, okay, this is a careless move, but even otherwise, there is simple threat. Knight into b7 and knight check, knight into d7. It is killing. And now bishop check and queen to a3. There is no time to take the rook. He will get mated. Knight b7 is a checkmate. So all this happened. Everything changes. The position is not bad. It is how you play. When somebody plays c5, every move should be directed towards castle quickly. Hello, Mr. Venkatesan. Okay. Next. Okay. This is the position. Now we have to understand strategy. Tactics is good. It is without good tactics you cannot win game easily. But strategical understanding. For example, the position here is very much closed. So let us say white plays this. Now I want you to evaluate the position. Who is better and what should black do now? Who is better now? He is offering the rook. Take my rook. What should black do? The position is not equal. Position is not equal. Black is clearly better. But only if you have a deep understanding of strategy. Black is clearly better. Not equal. What should black do now? Your judgment. I already told the evaluation. Black is clearly better. What should black do now? No. Not rook c into b3. Rook, what is there? You cannot give me two rooks. Rook into b3, a b3. The rook is there. How can you give the rook? rb3 is not good. Pawn into b3 just rook up. Okay, Vinay says black cannot, because after that it is a draw. If you take the rook, it is a draw. No entry. Simply it is a draw. After knight into, rook into, draw. So what should black do? No, rook b3 is losing. Rook b3 is losing. Rook b3, a3, a2, simply king b2 wins. He will win with king b2. That is just not working. Even rook will come back. Not correct. You can't give the rook. You cannot give the rook. What should black do? I say black is clearly better. But what to do? No, this is ridiculous. Rook into b3, a b3. Now a2, you can just block with king and you can block with the rook. Simply will you rook down. How can you give the rook? Just rook down for one pawn. So knight e8 to knight b4, it is a good idea. Now this is a good idea. Good idea. Now good idea. Into this. Because this is the weak point. So black played grandmaster correctly. Okay. Now what to do? He has defended the threat. Now black played correctly, but white defended. After the correct maneuvering of knight, white just in time brought the bishop. Now the point is, what will you do? You need to do some activity. Rook. Why rook? Because this pawn is trying to promote. The rook should be behind. Now knight into. Now rook into pawn. What a move. The point is, he will get the piece back, but the rook will be very active. It is not about combination. Not about now only move. You pawn into, it is just bad. After pawn into, just I will get the rook back. I mean, now this is terrible. Now this pawns, this weaknesses. It is terrible. You can't do b4. Rook check. b4 is not possible and there is no answer. He will choose dropping both the pawns. So, when he play rook into b3, you have to take with the king. Check. Check. Now, in return for the rook, black will get two more pawns. Black already has one pawn. Now two more pawns. Check. And the cluster of center pawns is just rolling. Just rolling. Okay. Forced. There is no time. There is no time to go because the threat remains. Suppose you go somewhere, pawn will push. There is no time to do activity. Only move. Mating attack. Winning. With a easy win. The threat is mate. The threat is check and there is mating attack. You can't go here. Finish. No answer. You can see the understanding of grandmasters. Very creative player, David Bronstein. Very creative grandmaster. He was. Again, Akiba Rubinstein was a great strategist. In 1914, he was the best player. 1914, in fact, he was better than even Capablanca. Because Capablanca never studied seriously. He was a prodigy and very good feeling for opening, middle game, end game, on the board man. Great understanding. But Rubinstein worked hard. And Rubinstein endgame, rook endgame, probably one of the greatest rook endgame player in the chess history. In general, he was very good in endgame. Now, he demonstrated here. For example, Boris Gelfand. He was very fond of Rubinstein. His chess hero was Rubinstein. To that extent, Gelfand wrote a book, My Rubinstein. Now, this position he plays with immaculate technique and exploits the advantage. Look here. You cannot push the pawn, any pawn. You need to support because the bishop is guarding this square, so you are forced to support. Now, king, naturally, he will bring the king last piece into the game. King is a piece in end game. What should you do now? The science of winning chess is now understanding each different type of positions. What should black do? Why do now? Your partner is great Akiba Rubinstein. No. Tanisk, you are seeing too many Kasparov's games. Sacrifice on is great. No. I will tell you, Rubinstein was almost like a world champion in 1914. But unfortunately the World War broke and he lost all his strength after that World War. So of course this was 1926, but anyway he displayed fantastic ideas. No, not run into b7. No, not, yes, Ujjwal Bansal, pawn b4. Well done. Now the point is, bishop takes knight, though the pawn will double, this is bad, pawn doubled. Now suddenly a backward pawn has been created. He will switch the rook or switch the rook. Clearly better. So you cannot take. The correct move was to exchange the bishop. The rook must come to defend. So the bishop exchange was essential. The only move, rather. Thereafter black may survive. It is not that black is equal, but best chance. After the move bishop c7, this was bad, but at least some exchanges. At least. White is better for knight into knight, and now pawn into. This position is still better, but at least some relief. But he played in the game another worse than this. bc7. You cannot do. Queenside pawns are paralyzed. Winning. Forced to exchange, and a backward pawn he will not able to come out. He will not able to recover. Now all pieces are busy, so we need to open the another front. No, Tanis, it is not two pawns. The quality of the pawns. Knight into b7 is just losing. Not good. Now that black has defended the weakness, now we should open the second front on the king side. Opening a second front. Not pawn into pawn, he will survive. But the break. And it should win. Now the other rook is coming. Now the other rook will join the game. Black cannot hold on long time because they are uncoordinated. Practically, virtually is the rook down. Virtually. It should win. Actually, you can give a check also, but clean the board. Unnecessary headache should not be there. It should win. The knight will head. Winning. Only move. It is zugzwang now. Nothing is moving around. It is a zugzwang. If you study Rubinstein, you can study Alekhine, you can study any old master game, Petrosian, Smyslov. You will improve your strategic depth and execution and planning. Tanish to do knight into b7 was bad. Okay, I will tell you. Here, this is bad. Now the point is, black will generate counterplay. First you defend the pawn. Okay, maybe not this way. maybe here knight into pawn. And you take this. And now there is generating counterplay. What will I do now? So not enough. RB8 is not coming. Bishop is watching the square. So knight into b7 is bad. Piece down. Not enough. This is actually a position that some annotators have actually not given the correct evaluation. White is Marshall, black Capablanca. This position you can find in many textbooks, strategy books, endgame books. Good move. In fact, this is a good move. Now black's having advantage on queen side and he will prepare to advance the pawns to create a pass pawn. And now there is zugzwang. Rook b8 on 33rd move. Okay, I will see that. I will see which one. 33rd move. A4. Now he can play rook b8. He can play rb8, but it will lead to zugzwang now. Why? Because now rook will come. Idea, next rook will come. There is always the mating threat and this check and discover check. Now the point is, there will always mating attack. What will he do? It will run into zugzwang. Now the king does not move. The king does not move. The rook does not move. This not moving. Zugzwang. What black will do now? Now if rook moves, rook into knight. So nothing is moving. So if you play rook b8, rook h7, it is a zugzwang. No pawn move, no piece move. Nothing is moving. Okay. And if you move somewhere, okay, I give, and now this is the threat. And you come back here, now zugzwang. Now nothing, none piece, no. Now nothing is moving. Now all this is not, nothing is moving. It's a zugzwang. Okay, so I leave this. Now some annotators, they have misguided and given wrong conception. here at the moment, not this one, he should play f4. Try to mobilize the king side pawns. White strength, black is ahead in queen side. So white should start action instead of this move, f4. Not easy, I don't think. Because if you play this, then you are creating some weaknesses. I will come back, and now I start rolling my king side pawns. Counterplay. And this is not good because of this. So the Marshall did not do this, but he played passively. Unlike, it is not actually Marshall's style. It is too late now. Black is already ahead and he is coming very fast now. He is coming very fast. And winning the game. Backline clear for any kind of operation. Now it is anyway he is losing, and this fastens the defeat. This now fasten. The rook is entering now. Check, finish. There is no answer. The pawn rolling. Now the threat is to play b3, and now two pass pawns. Rather forced. The threat is now rook c2. This is a threat. One push and then winning the game. Okay. Now one full piece. But let me tell you, the evaluation is not correct here. Here he should have played. Now maybe this is okay. This is okay. Now queen e4 is good move. Now he should have played here f4. I don't see that black can easily win this game. The position is black to play. I will flip the board. Great Rubinstein. Now we need to see that what is the strength of black. The white's king side pawn majority is not moving, because this square is so strong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He cannot advance. Now black's plan should be to mobilize the queen side. So strategically he should try to create a pass pawn on the queen side. Notice the regrouping. So he has made a brick and now a perfect waiting move. Now the idea is to play c6. The regrouping is over now. Now the advance action will start. What we need is, the knight here. We need the bishop here in the diagonal to put pressure on the point. What we need, the knight should come to this king side, queen side, and the bishop should come to g6. And we don't have to hurry, slowly. So, lot of air, you see, not traffic jam. I can move my rook freely. Idea, I want the bishop in the diagonal. So the bishop has to come this way, then come here, and then here. So he transferred the bishop. Now you can see the position. Now the e4 point is under 3 pressure. 1, 2, 3. You cannot make the rook passive. Idea, now the break. finally. Now it is not a pure end game, it is a queenless middle game. You can say this is a queenless middle game. Why king d7? No, it was sort of just a waiting move. We know it is just a waiting move at that time. A waiting move. The file. And now this is a fresh target, the file. This is also in trouble. So active, this is active, active. All pieces are employed in exactly active placement. Over. I don't think he can defend now, because the rook is tied down. Now this is tied down, and this is tied down, and this is in pin. Finish. One by one they will fall, and just they come. Now I want to bring my knight now quickly, because this is doing nothing. He should come here and enter. Resign. Simply he will come knight here attacking, and after the bishop move, the knight finishing the game. So you can see you have to these positions. Royal Opus exchange variation is in the hands of technicians. It is very easy for black. Two bishops, like Spassky did with Fischer. Fischer did not repeat it. Like today I will show a game of under Lilienthal. So he easily won with black. Now the position is white to play. We need to have a deep understanding of strategical themes. What should white do? White is better. What should white do? White is clearly better, but what should be the plan? Tanisk says rook fd1. No, h5, no. You h6 you mean. I will tell you. Now this is draw. If you play this, it is a draw. You should not give counterplay. There is a target. They're bad. Back rank is not clear. Now mechanical rook, it is not good. Rook into rook. Now you will take rook, pawn into is bad. The king is near, so this. Now counterplay. And if you do, he will hound back rank. Now attack. Now if you give, again tempo. You will not be able to get any activity. Now the knight will enter. If you play king, knight will enter. So there is no rook double, mechanical rook double is nothing. And if you play h3, it is not active move. Black will get counterplay. Rook into rook, and the pawn will be very weak. Believe me, to win there is only one move. Only one correct move that white can win the game. Please find out what is the only correct move. Doubling rook is bad. And this is, you are giving time to black. You will play rook into rook, surround the pawn and counterplay. Yes, Tanis, rook 6 to d1. This is the correct move. In fact, this is the only move, then only you can hold the advantage. Any other move, counterplay. There is no time for s3, not rook d1 is bad. So only correct move. You have to take, and if you don't take, you can't come rook. So you have to take, and now there is nothing. No back rank. Back rank is not there, and I will next move, he is preparing to play f3. So he stops. Anyway, f3. Pawn into. Now believe me that the execution of the position is tremendous accuracy by white. Now the point is, if you play mechanically, black is better. Suppose you take this black is clearly better. Two threats. This is a threat and this is a threat. So you should not take it. You should play rook coming. Now knight e5 is not there. Rook is supported. Here the rook is unsupported. Now rook is supported. Not pawn into pawn. Not pawn into pawn. Counterplay. So push. Forced and check. It should win slowly. Now g7 weakness is there. But believe me, you should not now play, not bishop into g7. This will give counterplay. If you play this, there is counterplay will come. For example, I can give a check. Maybe rook check and knight check. Rook check. Oh no. Rook check I can't do. If you take bishop takes pawn, how I will generate counterplay? Maybe just come here. It should be all right. In the game, counterplay. Should win for white. It should win because extra pawn and also superior minor piece. It should win. Hello Karthik. So amazing move. Rook d2 back. Rook d2 back. That is the only correct way. f4 is a bad move. After f4, pawn into and black is having counterplay. Counterplay. Okay. Lilienthal game. Okay. I will go to the position directly. Okay. Maybe. So we have got a delayed exchange variation. The end game, the position, black is better because of bishop pair. Bishop pair. And the king is not bad, active. There is another plan also. You can play bd7 with the idea the king will try to sleep. And then b6. This is also an idea. King d8, king c d8 and c8. This is also idea, but and black is better. Now there are 3. Now it is important who is creating a pass pawn. Whether white is able to create a pass pawn on king side or whether black's queen side activity is better. Notice he is not playing at the moment passively. Now if there is no time, suppose you play rook into pawn, then there is pin is coming. Now rook into pawn is bad because he will pin, and if when king comes, the check is winning. So you have to do. Now there is no point in taking, anyway you lose the piece. So now a pass pawn has been created. A pass pawn has been created. It should win slowly. Now black is already, white's pass pawn is losing value because there is no supporting, no king, no knight, nothing. So this pawn does not move, whereas this pawn is potential dangerous pass pawn. Ready to roll the pawn. Ready to roll. Not bishop takes pawn. Now bishop takes pawn does not work. Because then you should paralyze them. You first come. So you can come here or maybe here. And then king. Now the pawns are not moving at all. You take and you come, that means before that the pawn will queen. Suppose you take. Check. Now you push. And if you push, this is gone. Nothing is moving. And now bishop c1 does not work because you can come here and there is a check. Even the king is somewhere here. If the king is somewhere here, I will just play knight to a4 and push the pawn. So there is no time for bishop g7. No time for bishop g7. Excellent move. Diverting the bishop from the scene of action. Now a check so that the pawn is queening smoothly. Now, okay, you can queen. Why give the knight? If you have to queen, why give the knight free? So just take it and win it. See, endgame technique, you have to be very extremely careful. One more game of Lilienthal. One more game of Lilienthal. This position, white is Lilienthal. Now it is white to play. White plays a3. Rook c1 first, taking the file. Now black must be very careful. Black must be careful now. The reason is, now he is preparing, if given a chance, white will play g4. Now the bishop cannot come. The bishop has to come. Suppose you are playing rook here. He will take rook and g4. Suddenly the bishop has no role. So he have to bring, now bishop come back. Otherwise this is a threat now. White to play g4, suddenly black is in trouble. So you have to return. Now the king will make progress. Now the pawn will come and then king will come. And big advantage. After consolidating, the player should return to the king side. Now there is nothing on the file here. So you should have break. Now this break should come. Break. This is bad. Rook will come and easily taking the initiative. So he plays here h6, take and seize the file. Even the advantage is minimal. That is, white will improve slowly and systematically, and black has nothing other than wait and watch and die slow death. This sort of positions, now there is no target in white camp. Black cannot do anything. The knight is vastly superior than the bishop. What should we do? For example, now the king can come here, so that I control all this. The knight should go to this square, maneuver the knight. The knight can always go, knight can always go, knight can go like this and then enter. The rook will go in 7th rank. Make him passive. As I told you, the knight should go to this square, any which way. You can come like this, and then enter. Forced. Now the king is active. Finally, bishop takes knight is hopeless. After bishop takes knight, the active rook and active king. Suppose you take bishop takes. You need, now this is a threat. So you are forced. You can't move. Rook c7, rook f7. You can't move the rook. Rook f7 will come. Winning. Forced. It is a zugzwang. No pawn move, no good king move, no good rook move. Zugzwang. So he cannot take the knight. One pawn gone. Because after the move, this is decisive. d5 pawn falls with a check. Now, the winning process is a mating net. Very strange, a mating net with rook, knight and king. What is the plan? The pawn should come here, then a rook check, and then pawn here and mate. Mate here or mate here? Mate here. Typical mating net. There is no time. Suppose you play rook to f3, there is no time. This is just finished. Now rook takes pawn check, rook takes pawn king. It is all over. Unstoppable mate. Now you can stop the mate, but this is lost. Okay, Tanishq, I will recommend, if you want some good book on puzzle, tactics and strategy, I advise certain books to you. Book number 1, Lessons in Chess Strategy. Lessons in Chess Strategy by Valerie Bain. By Valerie Bain. Okay. So, and there are some 3 books written by the Grandmaster. Who is that Grandmaster? Okay, there is some Chess College 1, Chess College 2, Chess College 3, and tactics for intermediate, tactics for Grandmaster level. So there are lot of good books are there. Lessons in Chess Strategy by Valerie Bain is a good book. And Imagination in Chess by Pata Gaprindasvili. Critical Moments by Lucille Dorfman. Method in Chess by Lucille Dorfman. Planning in Chess by Janos Flesch. Alright. And all the books written by Doreski are fantastic strategic books. So this is finished. So he has no time to take. Check. Finish. After rook into pawn, it becomes self block. The idea is, after rook takes pawn, it is a self block and mate. Self block cannot come. Tanishq, Anthology in Chess is a good book. Vishwanathan Anand's book is also great. Mate. So you can see the point is here how he can improve the position. How he can improve. Okay. I will give you some thematic positions now. Okay. What do you think this position? Okay, here he played g4. g4, not a good move. You should wait patiently. It is better to play g3 and bring the king. You have to be very patient. So not a good move. Okay. Check. Check. Rook, rook. Now, white has made some concession, gave some opportunity. Okay, still the position can be held to a draw. What should white do? What should white do now? If you read these books, it will helpful. Planning in Chess by Janos Flesch, Method in Chess by Dorfman, Critical Moment by Dorfman, Imagination in Chess by Pata Gaprindasvili, Critical Moments by Pata Gaprindasvili. Alright, what should you do in this position? White to play. What will white do? Can somebody tell me what should white do? Where is rook c2 coming? Rook c2 is an illegal move. This is the rook c2. How can you bring rook c2? No, not rook c7. Rook c7 will lose the game. After rook c7, when you play rook c7, the rook will come and winning the game. Rook e5 and check. You know, with accurate play, white can hold the game. Now, white may play king f2. White can play king f2, but that is the losing move. This is natural. Any young player will attack the rook so that you can come up. Now, the rook is tied down to the pawn. Now, normal move is king attack, but this is the losing move. The correct move is king. This is the correct move. King s2 is draw. King f2 is losing. Why king f2 is losing? After the move, he will come. Now, the king cannot go to the squares because check. And after the move, a check is coming. This frees the pawn. You cannot come. And now winning. Now the pawn is lost. The pawn is lost. This is the point. Whereas, had you played king to h2, it is a draw. King h2 is a draw. For example, now rook e5. I don't have to go. I play king h3. If the king into pawn, this pawn falls. After rook into pawn, this pawn falls. Draw. It is a draw. Next move, king. So here, this natural move, this natural king f2 is lost the game. What a pity. What a pity. King s2 is a draw. And now king. Such simple themes, very trifles. Very trifle matter. Now let us have a look at this position. This position. Black is now, if you look at the position, now after the move bishop to d5, he played rook into and took the piece. Now two pieces for the move. Because bishop into bishop, there is nothing. He will play knight into and there is no. So black took the piece. What is your judgment of the position? Is this position the extra piece? Can black win the game? Can black win the game? Okay. All right. Hello, Solanki. Black is slightly better. No, black is winning. The point is, why this end game is interesting, that the pawns are on the same side. We can win an end game provided we can create a pass pawn and queen the pawn. But here, creating a pass pawn is very difficult. Suppose we keep on exchanging pawns, white can easily draw. So here he played rook. Now black to play and find a winning plan. The point is, here bishop takes knight. Now the problem for black, how to create a pass pawn. The winning process is, you have to fix the pawns. You need to advance the pawn, force the pawn provoking and fix them, and then you can win. The Grandmaster Didisco played really great here. These are bad moves. After this move, his pawns will be fixed. Okay, so they are consolidated. Improving stage by stage. The point is, here that you need to attack the pawn. I want this pawn to come here. I want to provoke the pawn. Now if you engage in defense, it is bad. Active move. If you take the pawn, rook is trapped. Now rook is trapped. So you need to return now. So there is a target now. This pawn is a target. That means any moment you push, the knight will enter to f4. Forced. This is exactly black wanted. The pawns are fixed now. Now when the pawns are fixed, knight becomes stronger because it has target. Now he is giving a threat to come here later, not now of course, he will prepare to come here. He will prepare to come here and then hit the enter king pawn endgame. check, and now this. Suddenly the king is entering now. Now the knight is protecting the pawn. So even if you come, there is no target. Both knights are protecting each other. Forced. Now the king want to cross. Now the point is, you cannot come. Rook check is coming. The king wants to cross. The king will cross over now. Okay, for example, you attack here. Suppose you attack. Now you can play knight here. Knight. You cannot cross over. And now next I will drive. Next I will bring the king and enter again back. So it is not going to work. You place king. Now finally black reaches the target. And it should win. It should win. Zugzwang. You cannot, you have to create a pass pawn. You cannot do so, create a pass pawn and winning. Forced. Rather forced. Now knight into pawn is coming. If you attack the pawn, knight into pawn. Resign. Over. So you can see when you are playing, it is not easy, this sort of maneuvering. Experienced players know how to do maneuvering, how to take advantage. I guess I have done enough of endgame. Some tactics now. Few tactics. Let's do few tactics. The position, it is white to play. Find a winning plan. How should white play in this position? No. Okay, chess Prajapati, it is a win, but what to do? How to play? How to play for a win? Tell me execution. Tell me your plan and the moves. What should white do? No, BH6 is bad. BH6 is a blunder. Chess Prajapati, this is a blunder. If you play this, he will play knight into pawn. And pawn into, he will give a check. And take the bishop. So BH6 is a blunder. No, not G4 H5. No. You see, you need to have no weakness. You must carry out your initiative without unnecessary weakening. G4 is not correct. with the center is not closed, black will be better off. G4 is bad. Bh6 is a blunder. This is a blunder. Knight into e4 wins. I told you, this is winning. No, not h4. Not h4. Very simple. When there is a very, very simple plan, white wins, gets a big advantage. Okay, all right. Let me tell you. Somebody, I'll wait one more answer. No, no. This is also not good. E5 also not good. The point is, you need to clear the central tension. First pawn into pawn. This and now. You see, when you play direct e5, there is also always tension is there. He will come. Now if you do, he will come. You need to protect. Now he will open the position. Counterplay. Counterplay. That is why we don't want this possibility. Take, push, push. Now this is a weak pawn. And now there is no target. No target. What else? You cannot allow. Now white attack is going smooth. Just h4, h5. So he has to only move. You can't play slowly. You can't give the d5 pawn. And white is clearly on top. Third attack on the pawn. Of course, this is also little better, but this is overwhelming. I want to take the pawn and discover attack. Forced. The endgame is lost. Endgame is lost. So if you play queen exchange, it is a hopeless position. Why this move? You want to weaken the f7 square. So this is actually a terrible blunder. Now be5 only move. This is the only move, and after queen e5, white is winning slowly, winning. But this is a terrible blunder. Now tell me, what should white do? What should white do now? Not knight f7, Tanis. Queen check is a mate. Queen check and rook into knight mate. Not knight into. Just queen check. Forced and knight checkmate. Anyway, the game is lost. What I mean to say, in the beginning, if you do not play pawn, and this is the only correct method. Master play. You give it to any master. He will play, good master, will play immediately pawn into pawn and e5 with him. No counterplay. No counterplay. Okay. Now this is finished. Okay. This position, it is black to play. What should black do now? What should black do? What should black do? It is black to play, not white. Black made a bad move. Black made this bad move. He should have played now this, why this move? Because there is pressure. Pressure is here. So he wants to take this, sometime, and queen b3 coming. bb7 is a blunder. Queen b3 wins. So what you should do now? h6, it is a serious mistake. What should you do? Okay, bye Tanis. Now h6 is a mistake. The point is, a player is expecting knight will retreat. But what a strange move, f4. Now if you take the knight, now this is deadly. You have no time to take. No time to take. Pawn push, and you defend, then queen is coming. Queen is coming. Or you play here, knight there, the queen is coming. Queen 2, this is third attack, winning, fourth attack. Winning the game easily. So he cannot take that unexpected move, f4. Knight f6 does not work. Knight f6, rook into f6, and then decisive entry. Overwhelming. Lost. So he plays ng5, but that is lost after bishop a3, and he should lose more material, and the initiative is continuing. Overwhelming. Can resign now. So this innocent looking move like h6, he expected the knight to move. But then this deadly move comes. White is better. Now player should not bring queen early. This itself is a bad move. What he should do? He should develop the pieces. He should play here knight f6 and castle. White is better, but not easy. He should castle, queen c7, knight d7. But the same piece is moving. Now check, winning. Is a lost position. Queen into queen, there is a threat of c7. So queen into pawn, but now the one move bad threat, just come queen. The idea, he has made a room for the king, okay, and there is a mate threat. There is a mate threat. And there is also a threat. This is also a threat. He must lose material now. And bet. But okay, if he plays the correct move, even if you play, this is still white better. The only move. Again the only move. And winning material. Next, knight check and pick up the rook. It is very attacking line. Yes, it is. White is playing, black is playing bad chess. Bad very. Bringing the queen early, moving the pawn 2 times. Bad move. Forced. And now white plays this move. There is a threat. There is a threat here. He has defended, but now this is winning. This is because if there is a threat, otherwise I could have played here pawn b4, bishop b4, but threat, and it is winning because after the move finish is finished one, because only move here, and then he can easily win material. For example, now how I can win material? Maybe I bring queen, and he has to play. Then horrible, the pawn b5 coming, knight c3 coming. Now knight c3 is also winning because you need to watch the square. So if you play here, this is winning. All this is bringing queen early in the game. It is bad. It is bad. A player should avoid doing such queen moves. This is simply plus minus. I would rather say, I think maybe this is also not bad, because if queen into pawn, this knight d5 is crushing. Let us say he comes here, now h6. Now I will play now. What do? I will play some pawn b4. And if queen comes, bishop b5. So this is the sort of thing. Early queen moves are bad moves. Basic, fundamental chess. These are also bad moves. Actually, basically, in one of the nuns' book, this variation is given. That black wants to play b5, bb7, d6, and d7, c5. One of the plan of black, he wants to play bishop and knight and then play the break. But this is too slow. With king in the center, you must castle quickly. Then only do anything. Strategically, nothing wrong with the black plan. The problem is only the king is uncastled. So he is following the plan. Now white interrupts. Suddenly got into mess. He was expecting some pawn exchanges or pawn into pawn, but this unexpected move. White seized the initiative. Forced. Rather forced. What else? Now, what you can do? Forced. And it is hopeless now, because after rook into, queen is lost. Queen is lost. Or knight into, bishop check and queen is lost. So the player should avoid, the weakness is you don't have to do so many moves on the queen side. A6, these are irrelevant moves. Priority, you must castle quickly. What is this move doing? Nothing. The two moves has nothing to do with opening strategy. He is not bothered. Initiative. Okay, so I have covered the lines as I told you. In opening stage, you should be very, very careful. Not bringing the queen early in the game. Okay. The poison pawn variation. For example, the poison pawn variation. e4 c5, nf3 d6, d4 cd and d4, nf6, nc3 a6, bishop g5. Now e6, now f4. Here this is poison pawn. But this line is playable. Though it is breaking the principles, it is playable because it is a lot of complication comes and there are some targets. Though I would prefer to be white here. Now, for example, there are three treatment. One, he can play queen d2, allowing the pawn to capture. And then white has a development advantage, b2, with the idea bishop coming, with the idea castle quickly. This is one plan. Plan number one. Then plan number two, here he can, instead of rook move, he can play here knight b3. With the idea, now white is giving a threat, pawn push and trap the queen. Suppose you play some knight d7, now I will play a3. And now this is in trouble. No. Now this is in trouble, threat. The queen is in danger. Maybe I should not do. The third line is the safest way. Suppose you do not know theory, or you do not like absolute sharp play. So knight b3. This is giving a small but consistent advantage. Because the queen can give a check, gets nothing. Suppose you give a queen check, I don't mind queen. Now, this is a middle game where white has lot of development. Black has only one piece out. This is the problem. That queen should not come early in the game. A player like Karpov prefers, Anatoly Karpov, maximum time he preferred this move. So the queen check is useless. I mean, he beat, I think Grandmaster Quinteros. I guess he beat Grandmaster Quinteros. Let me show you the game. I hope it is Quinteros. World Championship file. No. So NB3, it should be there. NB3 must be played. Karpov has played it, I know. Yeah. You see this game. White is having advantage. Queen check is nothing. As I told you, queen e2 is there. Queen e2. And white is coordinated very well. The queen is blocking the path of the pawns. Blocking the pawn. So he wasted two moves. Plus minus. Only move. There is no other move. And now a typical pawn thrust on e5. Now the only move. Other moves are bad. Knight g8, he will not be able to come out easily. The only move. Plus minus. Very uncomfortable piece position. Finishing the game. Okay, whatever you do, it is just bad. Now queen g4 is coming. There are so many threats in there. Immediate e7, knight is hanging, bishop is hanging. One more pawn. Cannot take that pawn into. After pawn into knight, it is unstoppable mate. Convincing win. Finish. So it is a Karpov style. Karpov played this and said that this is definitely okay. Some players may say to make a smart move. For example, here this. Now queen check. Imagine the bishop is at h4. Now queen check is working. That means at this point, after queen, at this point, he says bg5. Now e6. Now instead of queen b6, let us play h6. The idea that after bishop h4, I will play queen b6, avoiding this variation. Now queen check is winning a pawn. So not winning a pawn, knight is there. So how to handle like this, h4 and queen b6. Now let us see. I would like to take you to Spassky or Tal Olafsson, Tal Tringo. A3. Queen takes pawn, then queen is trapped. And what is the next plan? I am going to bring the bishop to f2 against the queen. He cannot take the pawn. Cannot take. So the queen has come to b6 and retreated. A decisive advantage for white. Let's see the Tal Tringo. Okay. He says, I challenge you, take the pawn. The queen keep roaming. White is much better. 1 second, please. Now, even though the material is equal, that the black queen is not in a very safe place and he cannot castle quickly. But this is not everybody's style to complicate matter. I would say that you play the simplest way, a3. a3 is good. a3 is good. And you know, the matter of style, for example, welcome to take, plus minus. Idea long castle and e5 threat. No, this is self goal. This is self goal. He is worried, you know, black is worried that once rook comes, then this becomes a deadly threat. So he wants to eliminate that threat, but at the cost of further opening line. Knight into pawn is bad. Suppose you play knight into pawn is bad. Maybe how can I punish this? I think knight e4 is correct. There is no point in bg3 because there is a check. There is check. So I think knight e4 will clearly open the position, because once I eliminate, the queen has access, and once the rook will also open up the line, and that comes with a tempo. So knight e4 should be good, and he took queen into pawn, and that is also bad. Bad position. A positional advantage. He's gone. Okay. So I would say that avoiding the poison pawn is bad. You can play directly, and you don't have to say exchange, open, accept the challenge and allow queen into b2. I will give some classes to Najdorf, because Sicilian Najdorf is the most popular Sicilian, and it is very complicated. Now there are various setups. For example, this is the old main line, bg5, e6, f4, and some queen f3. This is the old main line. White wants to castle and go for an attack quickly. And modern main line is to play f3. Not here, but f3. This is called the English attack. A group of British players started this, led by Nigel Short, and it became the most popular line, and till today it is continuing to be the main line. So old main line is BG5, the second main line, modern main line is F3. Other than that, we can play F4. Now if you can play E6. So now this is not attacking my central knight. So white can play Queen F3, B E3 and castle. Now white can do castle. It is a complicated struggle. Or you can play F4 when I can play knight. Now I want to put pressure on the position. Suppose you play Queen C7, then Bishop D3 and white is ready to castle. B7 castle, and on pawn into pawn, I will not take the pawn. I will play King H1 because immediate bishop takes pawn, the check is coming. The check is coming. So I will play King H1 and now the pawn will fall anyway. White is better. So I will give some session for Sicilian Nasdaq and one line I would say Sicilian Dragon, because one session I cannot cover this kind of topics. It needs few sessions. For Sicilian Dragon, minimum 5 to 6 sessions I need, and for Nasdaq maybe more number of sessions. Okay. If you have any doubt, you can put up and I will explain to you. But to go to master level, a player should know the basic. For example, here a player should know pawn into pawn, King H1. And white is better, the knight has access, the pawn will fall, the center has become weaker. So I will be back again at 6 p.m. for the next session playing, and thank you very much friends being with me. So take care everybody. See you at 6 p.m. today for the practical training games. You are welcome to play on the Leechess platform 5+3 increment. See you. Bye everybody.